Official statement from the Ministry of Justice. Passing of KPSM officer. Public meeting of Parliament to deliberate on the current state of operational and sanitary conditions in public schools by the Minister of Education, Melissa Gums. KPSM maintains zero-tolerance approach following altercation at Festival Village. Groundbreaking for the reconstruction of the Sister Marie Lawrence School, also speaking Clarette Connor, Director of NRP. From the island, St. Martin, this is SXM Daily News for April 24th, 2026. It is with profound sadness and a heavy heart that the Ministry of Justice announces the passing of our KPSM colleague, Brigadier Kerry Hyman, on the evening of April 23rd, 2026. We did not only lose a dedicated officer, we lost a woman who embodied service in its truest form. Brigadier Hyman served the people of St. Martin with unwavering commitment, strength, professionalism, and integrity. She stood on the front lines of our justice system with resilience and a deep sense of duty, earning the respect of her colleagues and the trust of the community she protected. Her passing leaves a void that is felt across the entire justice chain, most profoundly within the KPSM family. In this moment of grief, we stand united, not only in mourning, but in honoring a life of service that has left a lasting imprint on our organization and our country. We reflect on her dedication, her strength of character, and the countless ways in which she contributed to the safety and well-being of our community. On behalf of the Ministry of Justice, the management team, and all personnel of KPSM, we extend our deepest and most heartfelt condolences to her family, friends, and loved ones. No words can ease the pain of such a loss, but we hope they find some comfort in knowing that her service mattered. Her work made a difference, and her legacy will never be forgotten. May her dedication continue to inspire us all, and may she rest in eternal peace. Public meeting of Parliament to deliberate on the current state of operational and sanitary conditions in public schools by the Minister of Education, Melissa Gums.
The Ministry of ECYS always welcomes the opportunity to provide Parliament and, of course, the public with clear and factual information on this and other matters under my purview. Parliamentary oversight, as I've always said, is a critical pillar of good governance, and discussions concerning the condition of our public schools are both necessary and appropriate. Every member of Parliament shares a responsibility to ensure that the children of St. Martin are educated in environments that are safe, sanitary, and conducive to learning. At the same time, I find it important to clarify several misconceptions that have been circulating publicly regarding both the operational realities within our public schools and the policies and procedures governing donations and visits to those schools. Matters relating to health, sanitation, and the availability of essential supplies are taken very seriously by the Ministry, and any suggestion that these issues would be ignored or minimized is inaccurate. The disruption in sanitation supplies over a month ago was a result of operational and financial constraints affecting the supply chain, including long-standing payment arrears, which the Ministry moved to address with urgency once verified. Equally important is correcting the narrative that the Ministry has rejected support from the community. As Minister, I've consistently stated that assistance from the private sector and the wider community is welcomed. What the Ministry has required is that such support be coordinated through established channels to ensure transparency, protect student safety, prevent inequities between schools, and align contributions with actual system needs. This is not a restriction, it is responsible governance. The Ministry also believes that this discussion must extend beyond immediate operational concerns. Recent education assessments, including the FBE review and the EGRA-EGMA results, highlight deeper systemic challenges that require sustained national focus. Addressing these issues will require collaboration across the political aisle alongside educators, parents, and community partners. When we move beyond isolated incidents and work collectively on structural solutions, the true beneficiaries are the students of St. Martin and thus the future of this country. Finally, it's important to note that many of the financial and operational challenges currently affecting the education sector did not emerge overnight, The purpose of presenting historical data was not to assign blame, but to provide full transparency on how these challenges developed over time, while acknowledging the responsibility of the minister that now carries to address them. Context is not blame. Context is necessary for solutions. The ministry remains focused not on where the problem began, but on ensuring that it is resolved in a timely, sustainable, and accountable manner. With that, Madam Chair Lady, I will move on to answering the questions, starting with questions from MP Duran. Can the policy regarding donations or assistance to schools be shared with Parliament? Article 16 of the Landsverordening Inrichting en Organisatie Landsoverheid, LIOL, establishes that the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport is responsible for the governance and management of the domains of education, culture, youth and sport. Furthermore, Article 9D of the LIOL places the Dienst Openbaar Onderwijs, Division of Public Education, explicitly under the ministerial responsibility of the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport. In addition, the Landsverordening Funderend Onderwijs, LFO, establishes that the Minister of Education serves as the bevoegd gezag competent authority for public schools. This means that the governance, administrative oversight, and policy authority for public schools are exercised through the minister. Consequently, when gifts, donations, or other forms of assistance are directed to public schools, these are effectively directed to institutions that fall within the organizational and budgetary responsibility of the minister. As such, the minister bears the ultimate policy and administrative responsibility for the acceptance and management of such donations. In practice, when a school is approached by an individual or organization wishing to provide support or make a donation, the school is and has always been required to forward the request to the Division of Public Education for review. This ensures that the proposed assistance aligns with applicable regulations, school needs, and government governance requirements. To ensure accountability and transparency, all donation requests must be formally submitted in writing and must receive written approval from the competent authority before any donation or assistance is accepted or implemented. Through this process, the ministry ensures that external assistance to public schools is handled in a transparent, coordinated, and accountable manner, fully aligned with the legal and administrative framework governing public education. Question 2. Can the minister provide a full status update of every public school, including what each school currently has, what it lacks, and what is being done to address the gaps? The ministry, to the Division of Public Education,
Thank you, Minister. You can finish your sentence. And then
maintains ongoing oversight of the operational status of all public schools.
Thank you so much, Minister. I see that we have an interruption from MP Irian. MP, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I want to bring some clarity to... Thank you, Madam Chair. Some clarity to that question posed. That question was brought up because it was said to us by members of the coalition, I believe by the minister herself, that there was a policy in place that she met from the prior minister. So the whole donation situation, we didn't ask for the law because it was stated that I met a prior policy there that was implemented. I'm following that policy. So we wanted to know, where is this policy? Can we get a copy of this policy? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Irian. I'll allow the minister to answer that question if necessary, and then
Thank you,
can
Madam
continue.
Chair. I believe I corrected myself in the first instance of this meeting that there's a procedure that has been established. And it wasn't established by me or even by the my immediate predecessor or even his predecessor's predecessor. It has been a procedure that previous ministers of education, culture, youth, and sport have executed. If I may give a personal example, prior to being elected to Parliament, I sought to make a donation via a foundation I was a part of to a public school, and then Minister Samuel informed me that we needed to put it in writing to the ministry and then execute the donation. We received written permission from the Division of Public Education, I don't remember who was the head at the time, and then subsequently from Minister Samuel himself to execute this donation, and then it was done at the Marie Genevieve de Weaver School. So this is not something that is new, it is something that has been in place. Perhaps previous ministers have not implemented it. However, as informed by the Division of Public Education, it is a procedure I intend to continue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Groundbreaking for the reconstruction of the Sister Marie Lawrence School, also speaking Claret Connor, Director of NRPB.
And while I'm sitting there listening to the numbers from the Honorable Minister and the Prime Minister, and also Mr. Holly. I'm thinking about a few realities in those numbers. I think it was in 2019. It was Jesse, Tanya, and Mr. Holly that Dr. Holly that was sitting in one of the conference rooms in NRPB when we were introduced to this project. And as far as the Catholic School Board is concerned, this was a turnkey project because you had everything in place at the time. Little to know that it would have taken that time to get here. And but reality is a little different to desires. And I think we all can want and we can push. The minister has said it. We could be a little bit aggressive, which is good. But we also have to be realistic and be cognizant of what's around us. We were devastated after Hurricane Irma and Maria, mind you. And after that devastation, as the minister indicated in her presentation to us, walking in her neighborhood, coming to the school and seeing what such a disaster can do to a small island and everything that we have on it, it brings that understanding that we have to work towards repairing every single thing that was left in the wake of Hurricanes Irma and Maria. Things like immediately addressing family homes and repairing homes and roofs. And we could not have done all, but we did as much as we can within the trust fund. Things like restoring shelters and recovery shelters to ensure that if a hurricane hit again the next month or the next day, people can be safe. Things like restoring an economy through projects funded by the trust fund, supported by the World Bank, and ensuring that small businesses and vulnerable individuals can find themselves again and the country can start to grow again. The Prime Minister mentioned at the airport, we had to rebuild that as well. So many things that we've done, numbers, we can count every single step, every single activity. But we also have to realize that $550 million in a trust fund would not have been all the money that we need to repair $2.6 billion worth of damage to a small island. So with that reality sitting before us, we needed to take steps, we needed to prioritize. Mind you, NRPB has been there from 15th of January 2019. That's what it says on my lands slide PM, to establish NRPB. But before NRPB, it was the Interim Recovery Committee, which was the RRC, and they did most of the preparation work. But just understanding that sitting there and having to deal with probably 6 administrations through that process, 4 prime ministers, multiple ministers of education. This has been a journey. And I want to wrap it up by saying I spoke to Tanya when I walked in and I said, it surely took us some time to get there. And what she said, we are here now. Now we start, now we will get it done. Everything have to happen within its time. I want to thank the NRPB team, not only the FRLP team, we have an EDMP team, we have an EISP team, we have an ESP team. All of these abbreviations we have in every team represents tens of millions of dollars, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars in projects and activities to ensure that we restore St. Martin back to its glory, where the next generation, the future of the people of the Sister Marie Laurent School can find a home and have hope for a safer and brighter future. So with that, I also want to acknowledge the patience of the World Bank and the partnership that we've established over the years, because even in Ms. Yanga's position, it was someone there before her and someone before that person. And then the steering committee, there was someone before you and so forth. But what we have been able to accomplish to bring this particular activity to this stage is remarkable. And I want to congratulate everyone that was mentioned for your hard work, your dedication, and your commitment to not only this community, but this entire country. And we look forward to greater things in our nation building.
The Ministry of Romi was the targeted brand for the Ministry of Interior and Kingdom Relations, beings of BZK. This grant was specifically intended to strengthen institutional capacity within the Brahmin with a clear and explicit focus on supporting activities that also contribute to the successful implementation of the trust fund projects, one of which was released directly into professionalizing and proper financing of the police sector.
In late 2024, the Ministry of Romi received a targeted grant from the Ministry of Interior and Kingdom Relations, BZK. This grant was specifically intended to strengthen institutional capacity within Romi with a clear and explicit focus on supporting activities that also contribute to the successful implementation of the trust fund projects, one of which relates directly to professionalizing and properly financing the waste sector. The ministry incorporated allocated funds in 2025 national budget, ensuring that the resources could be deployed in a structured, accountable, and transparent manner. Since that time, the ministry has made tangible progress. Capacity has been secured to support the update of the waste ordinance, which is currently in advanced legal review stage. In parallel, the ministry has engaged expertise to design a financial framework aimed at supporting a sustainable waste sector for St. Martin. The financial framework has been since completed and delivered. The ministry has already moved to implementation by initiating the first financial instrument arising from that framework, namely the landfill entrance fee. This measure is a foundational step towards ensuring financial sustainability and improves governance in the waste sector. In addition, the ministry has identified up to 11 further activities and critical vacancies that are required to strengthen institutional capacity across key functions. These vacancies will be published in the coming week, and Romi will commence a targeted recruitment drive at the beginning of May, as part of the broader and phased approach to capacity building, especially in the waste sector. I encourage everyone to take the opportunity to apply once these vacancies are out. These actions demonstrate that the grant funding is being properly applied purposefully and in line with the original objectives, and with a clear focus on strengthening the ministry's ability to deliver sustainable results for the country, particularly in the waste sector.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah. Your social health insurances.
police force of Sint Maarten, KPSM, informs the public that in the early morning hours, shortly after the official closing time of the festival village at approximately 4 a.m., officers were once again required to intervene in an ongoing physical altercation on the premises. In line with the previously communicated zero-tolerance policy regarding fights and disorderly conduct during the carnival period, officers acted swiftly to restore order. As a result of the incident, 2 female suspects and 1 male suspect were arrested for their involvement in the fight. Additionally, a second male suspect was arrested after attempting to interfere with police officers while they were carrying out their duties during the arrest process. KPSM reiterates its firm stance that any individual engaging in physical altercations or disruptive behavior will be arrested and dealt with severely. Such actions pose a direct threat to public safety and undermine the secure and enjoyable environment that authorities are working to maintain during the carnival festivities. The police continue to urge all attendees to act responsibly and respect the law. These types of behaviors will not be tolerated and will be addressed swiftly and decisively in the interest of the general safety of all. Minister Grisha Heilige Martin responded to MP Ardwell Irian in a public meeting Parliament, starting by expressing his disappointment with the presentation, indicating that it did not provide a sufficient concrete solution, and he noted that a call to action should not be framed in terms of what government may do, but rather what government will do. I have been in this position for over a year. There should already be clearly defined measures in place to respond to crises, such as global conflicts and tariff-related pressures. Additionally, MP Ardwell Irian expressed concerns that the general public may not fully understand what mitigation measures the government intends to implement, and suggested that a stronger emphasis should be placed on actions such as supporting local production and keeping money circulating within the economy.
Next, I move on to questions posed by MP Ardwell Irian. The Honourable Member of Parliament started out by expressing his disappointment with the presentation, indicated that it did not provide sufficient concrete solution, and he noted that a call to action should not be framed in terms of what government may do, but rather what government will do. He further indicated that given that I have been in this position for over a year, that there should already be a clear defined measures in place to respond to crises such as global conflicts and tariff-related pressures. Additionally, the MP expressed concerns that the general public may not fully understand what mitigation measures government intends to implement, and suggests that the stronger emphasis should be placed on actions such as supporting local production and keeping money circulating within the economy. Madam Chair Lady, I appreciate the Honourable MP's comments, MP Irian, because they highlighted an important expectation: clarity, decisiveness, and reassurance to the public. However, I believe it is equally important that we distinguish between what can be promised and what can be responsibly delivered. When this ministry speaks about monitoring, it is not a passive observation. It is an action, structured and continuous process, which includes weekly and ongoing engagement with importers, wholesalers, and retailers to track real price movements, direct coordination with utilities and fuel providers to assess cost changing and projection, analysis of fuel prices, shipping rates, and global supply chain indicators, use of economic data, including CPI and sector performance, to identify trend, monitoring leads directly to decision points. So when we identify sustained increase of our risk, we act through targeted intervention where feasible, stakeholder negotiations to reduce or delay cost pass-through, and policy adjustments within the limits of our legal and fiscal framework. So monitoring is not the end, It is triggered for action. And let me be clear, Madam Chair Lady, on what the government is doing and not what we may do. We are actively engaging utilities and fuel providers to assess how increases can manage and be partially absorbed. We are evaluating targeted support mechanism for vulnerable groups, particularly where cost of living pressures are highest. We are reviewing consumer protection tools, including the maximum price framework, to ensure they remain effective. We are working on the Ministry of Finance on fiscal options, including temporary relief mechanism where feasible. And we are strengthening public communication so that households understand both the challenges and how to respond. These are not hypothetical, they are ongoing actions. Madam Chair Lady, the Honourable MP points out on supporting local production as is well taken, what he mentioned. And yes, keeping money circulating within the local economy, of course, is important. However, we must be honest with our people. St. Martin's capacity for local production is still limited. We do not produce fuel, we do not produce most of our food, and we do not manufacture most construction materials. So while we continue to support local agriculture and small business development, encourage local consumers where possible, this cannot on its own offset the impact of global price increases. The Honourable MP is correct in one respect. People want certainty. But leadership also requires that we do not create false certainty. We cannot stand here and say we will stop fuel prices from rising. We will prevent global inflation from reaching our shores, because that would be not truthful. What we can say and stand firmly behind is we will monitor actively and act early. We will protect the most vulnerable where possible, and we will engage stakeholders to manage impact. And we will continue to build a more resilient and less vulnerable economy over time. That cannot happen in a week, in a month, in 2 years. It takes time. This is not a situation where one single measure will resolve this issue. It requires continuous management, responsible decision-making, and realistic expectations. So while I understand the call for a definitive statement, I will also choose to present solutions that are responsible and sustainable rather than promise that cannot be delivered. That is the approach this government is taking, not just to respond to this crisis, but to strengthen St. Martin for the future.
Now for the weather forecast, today through Saturday midday. Partly cloudy. Isolated showers are likely. Surface winds, tonight through Saturday midday. East-southeasterly to south-southeasterly with a light to gentle breeze at 4 to 11 Niemwamlaimov. State of the sea. Smooth to slight, waves and swells, up to 4 feet outlook through Sunday midday. Variably cloudy. Isolated showers are likely. And now your 3-day forecast.
SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your MySXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXV, yeah, your social health insurances.
The conclusion of the first edition of the postgraduate course on Kingdom Affairs will take place on Friday, April 24th. This course is an initiative of the Hague University of Applied Sciences and Leiden University, and is intended for professionals on both sides of the ocean who deal with the kingdom and kingdom relations in their work. The first edition of the course was fully booked, with 20 participants from the European Netherlands and 20 participants from the Caribbean islands within the kingdom. During the conclusion on April 24th, the participants will present their final assignment in the form of a poster, and certificates will be awarded. This will occur in the form of a festive, public event, to which all lecturers in the course and representatives of institutions dealing with kingdom relations are also invited. The event will take place between 2 and 5 p.m. Dutch time at the Hague University of Applied Sciences and will be concluded with drinks. During the closing ceremony, several prominent speakers will address the graduates and wider public. Mike Eamon, Prime Minister of Aruba; Eric van der Berg, State Secretary for Kingdom Relations; Sarah de Rijker, Rector Magnificus of Leiden University; Arend Hardorf, Vice President of the Hague University of Applied Sciences. The course on Kingdom Affairs is coordinated by Drs. Marcel Daniels, the Hague University of Applied Sciences, and Professor Wouter Veenendaal, Leiden University. Veenendaal holds the special chair on democratic representation in the Kingdom, which was established in 2024 by the Ministry for the Interior and Kingdom Relations, BZK, to generate deeper and broader attention for kingdom relations. BZK also has a knowledge-sharing partnership on kingdom relations with the Hague University of Applied Sciences. This is our SXM Daily Newscast. Thank you for joining us.